Okay, if I leave this in here, can you hear me okay? Is that all right? Yes? No? I'm just going to keep talking. Okay, that's great. Okay, so thank you very much for the warm welcome. Jean's kind of done my introduction for me, so I don't need to sell my company or what I do. But I'm here today really to talk to you more about my, my evening job, which is, as Jean said, co-chair of the Gay Women's Network in London, which is a London-based professional network for lesbian, bisexual and transgender women. We aim to provide access to career development and networking opportunities in an inclusive and welcoming space, and to support positive change for lesbian, bisexual and transgender women in the workplace. I'm going to start using the term LBT when I mean to say lesbian, bisexual, transgender, because the more I repeat that, the more I'm just going to trip up over myself and say something terrible. So LBT for reference. And we do welcome women from all sectors and industries. So I'm here today to tell you a little bit about how we started. I think this touches on a lot of the themes we've discussed already in sessions today, but I want to talk more about, okay, how do you actually set up a network and what is that value? The GWN was launched just under 4 years ago by a group of senior professional women, majority from the private sector, and each bringing a different experience to the table, but really unified by one common theme, which was that we all knew what it was like to be the only woman in a sea of men at LGBT network events, or one of a handful of women. And we also, to a certain extent, knew what it might feel to be a little bit excluded from women's networks as well. But we knew that lesbians were in the workplace, either because we knew them personally, or because we met them in the course of business, or because sometimes you could just spot them in the elevator. But we knew lesbians were in our company, but they weren't coming along to network events. So we started to have more conversations about this and realised that there were definitely professional implications of being an L woman in the workplace. LGBT networks were important, but they didn't always offer the right opportunities or sufficient support for career development for women. And at the same time, women's networks could be, at times, a little bit exclusive. And so we asked the question, if both networks are important, but neither are sufficiently inclusive, can we set something up that is inclusive of gay women, a gay women's network, if you like? And the answer was a resounding yes, and so in 2008 we formed our steering committee and we launched the network. For future networks in the room, get your name right. We spent a hell of a long time deliberating over what we should call ourselves. There were all sorts of permutations. I think lemon was one thrown in there. That was a northern term for lesbian. Thank God we didn't go with that. And went for the very unambiguous Gay Women's Network in the end. And so where are we now? So, well, in year one, we celebrated having 75 members. We ran a series of small networking events and workshops. And at the end of almost at the end of year four, we have almost 600 members in London, which is huge. I think it's fair to say that at the beginning of the network, we were predominantly private sector, and over time that membership has really evolved. So we now have members from government and public sector, charities like myself, SMEs, and also entrepreneurs. And to our knowledge, we're currently the largest professional network of L women in the UK. Our key means of engagement for members now is through our programme of events and initiatives, all of which focus on career development for women. So we're now pretty much running an event per month, sometimes two. And we run everything from large panel events featuring senior women, the ones that Jean talked about, right the way through to small workshops looking at personality profiling or networking skills, right the way from networking drinks through to development programs on co-coaching and career coaching, and also fundraisers working with LGBT charities in London. None of these are charged, I should add. Everyone on the steering committee volunteers their time, and we run all of our events by leveraging the skills of the network and are very generously sponsored by our companies in the network to host events. So we have a steering committee of up to 21 women at any time, all supported by their businesses and from different sectors, as I said. And I think with a steering committee of 21 women, that is not without its complications, and it takes a heck of a lot of management. But I think right now the committee is the most collaborative and strategic that it's ever been. We meet once a month in addition to having an annual away day to plan our strategy for the year. And we have a really strong model of governance which sees our co-chairs rotate every year to ensure that the leadership remains fresh and energetic, and when Jean and I lose our freshness and energy at the end of this year, we're going to step down and let someone else take on the baton. And something else I wanted to talk about today, which interestingly hasn't really been touched on at all in the course of our discussions, but I think which is really important, and that's the need to consider how you continue to support the diversity of the women in your diverse network. And the thing I really want to talk about is about ethnicity and culture. 2 years ago, we received feedback from some members that they would like to see more events targeted at BME women, another catch-all term to mean Black, Asian or minority ethnic. And at this time, we only had a handful of women in the network who were self-identified as BME. And as much as those women were active in the network, some of them were active in the network, others were hesitant to join larger GWN events, and it became evident over time that our events and communications weren't necessarily directly addressing the needs of those members. So we needed to start thinking practically and started that dialogue with our membership through a series of small events. And so through discussions with our members, we started thinking about this concept of composite identity or intersectionality, which in this context recognises that women of colour, who are also lesbian, bisexual and or transgender, may face different or additional challenges in reconciling their sexual orientation and gender identity with their culture and or religious identities in the workplace. Many women feel a sense of isolation associated with being a minority within a minority. They belong to one community or the other, but not always both, and so often feel excluded. Sometimes women were also hesitant to attend larger GWN events because they were not out at work or indeed not out in their communities, and so were really nervous to suddenly immerse themselves in the giant lesbian professional community in London. So it felt safer to start small and create a personal network of women who had a shared experience before then participating in the wider network. So after hosting several conversations on this subject, we set up a new group called GWN Multicultural, or GWNM, because GWN wasn't enough of a mouthful. GWNM has been running for almost 2 years now. And our events celebrate the cultural diversity within our network and create a platform for positive ethnic minority role models. We're currently pursuing 2 themes. One is to broaden the reach of the multicultural group, to create a community and understand the needs of our ethnic minority women, whilst also raising awareness within the wider network. We do this through cultural events, and these are attended by everyone in the network. The second theme focuses in on professional development and programmes that talk to that intersection of identities. Most recently, we ran a workshop for BME women on authentic leadership. Feedback. Oh, I think I just lost my mic there. Feedback from this event was absolutely compelling, and it suggests that there is a real need for career development that talks to that intersection of identity, the different facets of our identity. And if you like statistics, it's interesting to note that one in 6 now members of the network, the wider GWN network, identifies as ethnic minority, which is very interesting. We're very proud of the group to date. So I want to finish just by bringing you a little bit into my orbit of where I think we are as a network. And I know that some of my colleagues, some of whom are in the room today actually, will have different ideas, but I think these will also be discussed, and I know it's going to be an exciting discussion. But there are, to my mind, 2 key challenges going forward. The first is that we're growing rapidly. We have 600 members. Every week we get an influx of emails from new women wanting to join the network, and anyone can join. There's no process. You send us an email. Now, for something that's marketed predominantly by word of mouth, that is, I think, a pretty impressive thing. But interestingly, scale and growth were never really our objectives. We never wanted to be a massive network. And from a practical standpoint, we need to consider if we can continue to run the network in the same way we always have, if we're going to keep expanding at such pace. Do we need a different model? The next challenge is to consider our mission and whether the original need for a gay women's network has evolved into something else. Our original aim to create a space for networking and to deliver career development programs has, to a certain extent, been fulfilled. So do we continue in this objective, or is there more that we can do? And interestingly, in January, the UK Government Equalities Office asked for feedback on their LGBT action plan for the year. And again, they've been talking to us recently about a consultation they're about to launch on gay marriage. Now that's something we've never really done before, and it's prompted the question as to how TWN supports and or promotes that kind of legislation and government action. Do we want to do it? I think it's quite an exciting opportunity, but it's to be discussed. So the question is really, do we continue to focus on networking and or career development for gay women professionals, or should we also be a voice for those women on important matters of business and politics? I don't have the answer, but I hope that it's going to come sometime in the next year. So I just want to take this opportunity to say publicly, because I don't always get an opportunity to do this, and because it's on camera, I know it's going to work its way back to London, and I know that there are women in the room who will appreciate this, just how honoured I've been to work with so many inspiring women on our steering committee. They are all doing this in their personal time. They're all driven by a passion to make the workplace a better place for L women. And they are all experts, and they're all role models, and it's really a privilege to work with them. The network is lucky to have them. And so it remains for me to say thank you to you all for your attention. I hope we've been able to share something with you that would be useful for your current networks or your future networks. As I said, there are plenty of us in the room today, so do come along and talk to us later. We're really interested to know who else in Europe is doing this. And our website is down there. I'm not sure if you can really see it. But do check us out, and if ever you're in London, come along and join us for an event. Thank you.